In India, bribes are a part of doing business. They don't always call them bribes. When cashing a check or applying for a loan or an ID card, an official might ask for a little extra for tea, but then there's no tea. In 2001, a physics professor at the University of Maryland came up with an idea to help eliminate this bribery in his native India. The zero rupee. It's printed on plain paper with a big zero on it. It isn't legal tender. It isn't worth anything, but it's become a valuable symbol, sending a message about corruption. Today, nearly 1 million zero rupee notes have been distributed by a group called Fifth Pillar. Let's learn about them. Vijay Anand is the president of Fifth Pillar. He joins us from the Christian Science Monitor studio in Washington. Vijay, how bad is bribery in India?
Corruption starts right before birth until death for an Indian citizen. The parents have to pay a bribe to the nursing staff to even know the sex of the baby. If it is a girl child, you pay lesser. If it is a boy child, you pay a little more bribe. So that is where it starts for an Indian citizen. And right after getting discharged from the hospital, it's obtaining the birth certificate. Then when you go to school, obtaining a school admission, you have to pay a bribe. Then to get a job, you have to pay a bribe. To obtain a business license, to file your taxes, and then eventually it goes on until you retire, and to get your monthly pension check, you need to pay bribes. Then when you die, your family has to pay a bribe to get your death certificate. So for a single Indian citizen, it does not stop even after death.
Well, and we understand it becomes a vicious cycle, because if somebody has to pay a huge bribe, let's say, to secure a contract, then they feel, well, I have to recoup that money, so they collect bribes from people beneath them.
Everybody that takes bribes also have to pay bribes in other departments, so nobody is immune. So that is why Fifth Pillar found it very necessary to start distributing the zero rupee notes.
So tell us a little bit about those notes.
The zero rupee helps the individual to say no to corruption, no to bribery, without having to utter a word. It sends a sense of fear to the corrupt official that is handed this note, because there are quite a few things in the Indian law that makes corruption punishable by jail time, by suspension from their respective jobs. And the corrupt official has forgotten those things and assumed that the citizen will never confront their wrong thinking or acts.
Well, paint a scenario for us. There's a case that we read about of someone who went in to open a charity, and he had to get permission and the licensing and everything. And the Indian official said, there's a little business we have to take care of. We need some money for tea. And so the person just hands over this zero note. What happens?
Well, when the zero rupee note is handed, apart from the number zero and the word zero printed on it, it also has our organization's name printed in bold, along with the full contact information comprising of the street address, telephone number, website, and everything. And that makes a strong statement that the citizen is not alone in this fight against corruption. He or she is part of a larger organization that is waiting to act if a corrupt official delays or denies a fundamental right to a citizen. So in the past, they would find all kinds of excuses to delay the job and use code words to evince a bribe. But when the zero rupee note is handed out, they are stumped, and they do not have an alternative other than to get the job done.
You say that anecdotally, at least, you've had occasions where officials get the note and then immediately sort of rescind the request for a bribe. But have there also been cases, or is there a fear there will be cases, of retribution?
Not at all until now. Touch wood, not one case has been reported to us where the zero rupee note has complicated the situation for a citizen.
How much will that impact people negatively? Because we understand that there are people who have begun to consider a bribe a part of their pay.
Well, I agree, but I think they ought to find alternatives to increase their paychecks by either fighting for a better pay or quitting the job and taking a job that gives them a better pay. Definitely taking bribes and involving in corrupt practices is not an alternative for a bad paycheck.
But as you probably know, some economists believe that bribery may be a good thing because it gets things done quickly.
When we are talking about 80% of India cannot afford to pay those bribes, it is really a crippling factor in day-to-day lives of the common man in India.
Vijay Anand is the president of Fifth Pillar, an activist group in India that wants to reduce corruption by having people hand out worthless zero rupees when asked for a bribe. For more, you can go to our website, herenow.org. Vijay, thanks so much.